I'm Jason Klom, and this is Comedy on Vinyl. The year is 1976, the album Don't Smoke Dope, Fry Your Hair, the artist Franklin Ajaye, and my guest this week is Terry Jones. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be on the show. Seriously.
I'm so happy to have you here. I'm excited to finally pick a record that this happens a lot where it's like, I've been meaning to buy it. I never picked it up, and therefore I didn't get to listen to it until just today. So this is the first time I'm hearing his record. I'd like to know when you first heard it.
The first time I heard Don't Smoke Dope, Fry Your Hair. The first time I heard it was my dad actually let me hear it when I got older. And he has the album. My dad introduced me to stand-up comedy. And I had an aunt that was stand-up comic. So
awesome.
He had all these different albums. Yeah, it was really cool. So when I finally got to hear this album, I was blown away because he was telling me how much this guy was amazing. He was like, yo, this is one of the best stand-up comedians you'll ever hear. This is a guy who's a legend. He could have been Richard Pryor, but whatever reason, he kind of disappeared off the map. And he moved out to Australia, actually. He's in there now. But huge Franklin Ajaye fan. And when I first heard it, I was like, yo, this is Eddie Murphy before Eddie Murphy. Like, you could hear the Richard Pryor kind of jazz influence and cadence, but he just has this perfect pitch to him where everything flows, similar to like Dave Chappelle, like those jazz type comments where you hear music in their words, and no matter what they say, it's funny. And Franklin Ajaye was one of those guys. So yeah, I was excited to hear it. It was probably in the 2000s when I heard it, when I was a teenager.
So my first thought in listening to it was exactly that. I personally step back when my brain is like, hey, that reminds me of Richard Pryor. That reminds me of Eddie Murphy. I'm like, okay, but to be fair, you do not have the same exposure to black comics as you could have. So it's like, step back, make sure you're actually making a proper assessment before you do. But yeah, especially if you look up his influences are clearly Richard Pryor, Cosby, and some other folks, also Carlin, and I can hear that in there too. It's so densely packed with material, but also weirdly paced so evenly that that's something that throws me. I feel like if I had all this material backed up, I'd want to spit it out as fast as I could, maybe out of nerves, but it's so densely packed.
Yeah, I think that's what I love about it. No, and by the way, your assessment is correct. You know comedy very well, so I will say that. Anything that you say about your view on that is very respected. But a lot of the black comedians started in music because that's pretty much where we had to start, right? So it was always you would hear about different comedians opening for musicians. Guys that used to open for the OJs. Richard Pryor used to tour with Miles Davis, and that's where he actually gets that jazz influence from, is Miles Davis. Whenever you see Richard Pryor performing and he's moving his hand, that's that jazz right there. That's Miles Davis. And, he's like, y'all ever see somebody down the street, right? I mean, I saw a cat down the street and I said shit. But, that is exactly it. So a lot of black comedians have a jazz tempo to them. So I think that's why it's so evenly paced, because we had to match the music, and a lot of times the music was in the background playing. You would, like, if you check out Rudy Ray Moore, there was a piano player in the background while he's doing poems and comedic poems and stuff. So yeah, Franklin Ajaye is, in my opinion, the king of jazz comedy. I ran into a friend of mine is buddies with Louis Anderson, and I got a chance to meet him, and we were talking one day because he's in Franklin Ajaye's book. Which is about stand-up comedy, and he interviews all these different amazing comedians like Chris Rock, Sinbad, and he was saying the same thing. He was like, Franklin is so jazzy. Like, I love Franklin. And I don't think there's anyone like that outside of, Pryor, Cosby, in modern era is Dave Chappelle.
It's true. Yeah, it is one of those things where it is so, again, so very natural, conversational. I love very much. There are some moments, and there's a lot of them, where I think some people would either cut around this or avoid it. But he laughs so hard at his own shit that I'm like, oh man, I'm carried along with it. He just loves his own, and he loves it. And I'm just like, you really get a kick out of yourself, but it's in the best way possible.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's the fun thing about comedy. You want to enjoy your own material, right? And you don't want to hate it. You don't want to. A lot of comics deal with a lot of like self-hate anyway, so you don't want to deal with it on stage as well. You want to at least enjoy your material. So Franklin is really good at that. I mean, you could tell he really enjoys himself, and you don't hear too many people say that he's one of their influences. I'll straight up say he's one of my influences in comedy, but I think a lot of people don't mention him because he's kind of in the back burner. He's one of those guys that the day when he passes away is the day that he's going to become the comedic legend he deserves to be. And that's sad, but it's true because this guy has so much material, and he's so good. And that album is perfect. I remember my dad telling me how he went to go see him live, and I guess he made a joke at Franklin and Ajaye, because that was a big thing, like a lot of the 70s black comedy shows, they would heckle the comedians. Mm-hmm. And my dad said something to him about, I have your first album. And then he mentioned this album. And he said, well, you're the lying motherfucker, because that's not my first album. So, yeah, it's great, man. Franklin is awesome.
Oh, that's so good. So let's step back for a second. Now, you said, I apologize because the connection was a little funky at the beginning. You say your aunt was a stand-up comic?
Yeah, my aunt was a stand-up comic. Yeah.
Would we know her, or like, what was her situation?
Some comics would know her. Actually, there was a booker who was a Def Comedy Jam booker. He booked me like early on in my career, and he knew her and was like, "Oh my God, you Cookie's nephew," and it was so cool. But she was doing really good in the '90s. She would have like gone into Def Comedy Jam and stuff, but some things happened in life that changed. But she was amazing, man. Like, there's a lot of people that still to this day talk to me about her when they find out that that's my aunt. They're like, "Oh, Cookie's your aunt." She used to tour and do all kind of stuff back like on the Chitlin circuit. And
amazing.
Do different things before. Yeah. So, black comedians only had so many outlets in that time era, like the late 80s, early 90s. So you were lucky if you got on like HBO or something, like Damon Wayans and those guys and Eddie Murphy. They were all like grinding together, and they had Eddie to back them. So Def Comedy Jam had to create its own thing. Comic View, same thing. So she was around there, and yeah, so she was good.
That's amazing. Yeah, because not to say that this has gone away, but one of the reasons that kind of stuff had to happen, I'm sure, is because culturally, you've got people, heads of networks, who are putting together shows like, what was the name? Caroline's Comedy Hour, all that stuff. And they're like, okay, if we get one black person, we've met our quota. And then they don't try in any way to amplify voices, anything beyond what they're used to. And so therefore you had to just like, no, can we just get a bunch of folks together and just get the voices out there? And because they're like, oh, we got Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy's fine. Well, no, we could work a little harder on it. And it sucks so hard when I hear stories of people who had to struggle just because there's no out.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting thing. It was interesting seeing my aunt, who was so good, and on top of that, she was a black woman. So it was even harder because you're a woman and you're black. So, and that's why a lot of people hated Bill Cosby, blackballing them during that time era. I spent many years working with John Witherspoon, and he used to tell those stories of like Pryor and what it was like coming up in the 70s and all the way into like the Def Comedy Jam time era and stuff like that. So it's really interesting to see like how much things have changed comedically. Once Richard Pryor opened the doors, Eddie Murphy kicked them through. So Richard Pryor is Hulk Hogan, Eddie Murphy is The Rock. Like that's how I look at it. And after that, you have Chris Rock, you have Dave Chappelle, you have Martin Lawrence, like all these guys look to become big stars, all thanks to the way Eddie Murphy changed the game. and it all starts back to like Franklin Ajaye and on Midnight Hour. You know what I mean? Like him and guys like Freddie Prinze, who they didn't even have outlets; they created their own outlets, and and that was in the '70s.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing to see how much we have changed the world.
So now, was there a reason you weren't allowed to? Were you not allowed to listen to this until you were older? Was your family strict on language, or was it just something that happened to get introduced to you later?
It was one of the things where they wanted to wait till I was older, but I would still sneak and do it anyway. So when I was a kid, we snuck and watched, because my aunt had taped one of her sets. She had just won this big Coors Light comedy contest.
Yes.
And I wanted to see it, right, and sneak and see it a little bit. And then one day, my cousin, she taped Chris Rock's "Bring the Pain" special, and it was a VHS. She taped it off of HBO, and we put it in the VCR and we watched it. And the adults were coming, so we had to hurry up, cut it off, put it back, and everything. So my cousin, he spends the night. My cousin Dorian, he's going to kill me for this. He steals his mom, Martin Lawrence, VHS, and then he brings it to my grandma's house. And like it's real late at night, grandma's asleep, and then he goes, "They ain't gonna let us watch Chris Rock, but I got Martin Lawrence." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Martin," puts it in, and it was the most traumatizing moment of my life. Like Martin was saying shit that I've never heard any human being say. I was like, yo, what? Are you kidding me? Oh man, he had so many dirty bits. He was so dirty. I think that was I forget that special. He had a whole leather outfit, man. Had like the green patches and stuff.
Right.
But I forget. It was his first big special, actually. Oh man, I feel like a bad historian not knowing.
Hold on, no, it's fine. No. Okay, so was the first one You So Crazy? Is that it? Because that's '94.
Yeah, that was it.
Holy shit! Because he doesn't do another one till 2002, and it's a big change.
Yeah, Run Tell That was in theaters.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, man, that was it. We watched that. And I think Chris Rock came out in '95, so my aunt had the tape that my cousin took it from, his mom, and we watched that. So I had to always like sneak and watch comedy, but my dad would get me like clean comedy albums, right? And he would let me watch like Richard Pryor movies that were like not so rated, like Moving and The Toy, and he'd let me get dabs of like Eddie Murphy and these guys. I would watch like The Clump. And I would just do all these impressions because of Eddie Murphy.
Sure.
But when I was in 10th grade, I was going through like depression. It's like early 2000s. And my dad brings home this box set of all of Richard Pryor's albums, like every single one.
Wow.
And I sat there and I listened to each and every one of them. And I had an MP3 CD. Remember those CD players back then?
Oh, yeah.
And I burned them all on an MP3 CD, listened to every single one, and I was like, yo, because my dad, here, you're old enough to listen to this stuff now. Like, you can watch Red Fox now. Like, here, go ahead. I'm like 15 going to school, doing all the Richard Pryor lingo, like, hey, Jack. All the cats are like, oh, he's cool. Like, y'all motherfuckers ain't crazy, right? Yeah, so I had to sneak and like kind of, listen to Rudy Ray Moore and all that.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh my God.
Good times, man.
Oh, that's
good times.
All of his records. He gives you the entire Richard Pryor discography, which, man, that's a huge evolution to listen to in one sitting, or at least over a short stretch of time. And B, damned if that doesn't get so inappropriate so quick, but it's so good. Oh, I love that. Do you have a favorite Pryor album?
Okay, so I do. My favorite Richard Pryor album is probably an album that nobody would expect me to say, but it's called Craps. And Craps is a very early, early Richard Pryor album.
Yeah.
It's right. It was recorded in Red Fox's Club, and it's right after he did that Live and Smoking, where he like bombs on stage for like the whole special. And it's because it was like 1972, and this dude saying the dirtiest shit on stage. And, you know, like, what person goes on stage in 1972 and goes, "God, I sucked dick before, right? I sucked dick before." And I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 72, bruh. It's a black man in 72 saying this stuff. Like, he was outrageous, but it was so good, man, because he had so many bits that I enjoyed. And by the time he did Craps, all of that material that he bombed on, he got to do it in front of a black audience at Red Fox's Club, and it was condensed. And when I say it's flawless, it is flawless. Like, it is so good. And this is like during his transition from being Trying Cosby to becoming this new version of him. So, yeah, my dad, that's my favorite one next to, I mean, like, I like Bicentennial N-Word. I like, you know, there's a lot. That N-Word's crazy. I like that one. There's so many albums that I love. I love all of them, honestly, but Craft has a special place in my heart because it's the album that I don't know too many people that are comics that actually have heard it.
I'm going to have to give that one a lesson. I thought it was, I had to look, but yeah, it's one of the ones that's on, maybe one of the last ones he did that was on the Laugh label. It was pretty close to one of the last ones like that, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to have to listen to that one then because, oh my God. I mean, you've just given a very good argument for listening to that. I would love to know, okay, so on the Franklin Ajaye album, because here's the thing, you're listening to it, you know, a full, 30 plus years after the thing comes out. What of it still, like, is it just this is inherently funny? Is there anything that threw you off listening to it the first time? Because there's obviously some stuff that's either out of date or is very specific to LA in a very specific time period.
Honestly, nothing threw me off. And I think what was beautiful about it that didn't throw me off is his delivery. You know, I noticed that even though there are comics that say dated things, a lot of the stuff that they still talk about is like relevant to that, but it's just maybe the language is a little different. But if you can make it funny, it's universal. Like you said, 30 years later, we're laughing at this album. We're like, yo, this dude is wild. And you're laughing at how much he's talking about Trey and, you know, yeah, Trey was a cool cat. And I enjoyed Trey. And, you know, he's like telling you all these different things, and it's so funny. But we love it. I don't know. I don't think it felt dated like Lenny Bruce, and that's no shot at Lenny Bruce.
Sure.
But like when I listen to Lenny Bruce, I don't like Richard Pryor says Lima, Ohio was the funniest album he's ever heard. But like when I listen to Lenny Bruce, I'm just like, yo, this dude was innovative. He was great, but it doesn't speak to me. Well, old Robin Williams or old Steve Martin album does. So yeah, I think it's all in your delivery and your cadence and what you're trying to do with your message. Like Bill Hicks, one of my favorites of all time, and I can still listen to Bill Hicks today, and I'm dying laughing at a lot of his stuff. But yeah, it's all in your delivery, I think.
That's fair. I mean, you know, there's a whole, he walks this fantastic line, like I said, so wait, this is what, 76? I think maybe one of the releases was slightly earlier than that, but it was roughly 75 or 76 when this comes out. So this is, you know, him talking about going to college when he went to college and and saying how quote unquote easy. I do like the playing with this sort of false idea that it was easy for him to get in college, which obviously is not going to necessarily be true, but just that the idea is because of all the riots, he could just put on his application, "I'll burn this motherfucker down if you don't let me." Oh my God, it's so good. But let's talk about, we don't have to go track by track, but let me know, let's just talk about some stuff that like you find the funniest on this album?
Man, what are my favorite? I'm gonna look this up at the track name. Honestly, my favorite, because of my dad, is the Disney World, where it's the very last bit on the album, and he talks about getting Mickey Mouse high, and like the way Mickey Mouse is talking shit. That is so funny to me. And he was in such detail, and him and Trey, and me and Trey get high, man, and we like Mickey Mouse, and he was doing a Mickey Mouse impression back when nobody probably was even doing one. And I think that's what's impressive.
It's a very, and the bit goes on longer than you expect it to, because he's just doing this for like 5 minutes and talking about how he's not drawn with a dick and just very dumb shit, but just and how the idea of, also he goes into some very specific drugs where the audience is like, what? You tried what? Oh, you're not going to do it again? And I just love how his audience is there with him for every bit.
It's the 70s, man. That's when you could get high and you could do anything. There were no STDs that would last forever. You could go take a pill. You could do shrooms. That was that time era. And you can hear the audience really yelling that. Like, they're into it, man. Saliva and shrooms. And I'm like, yo, he took shrooms. He said Trey was freaking out in Disney World.
And this is after a whole bit, which, by the way, I think he introduces his friend Trey out of almost nowhere, as though you should know who Trey is, which I also kind of like. I like that he does that, and you don't question it. You're on board. At one point, he talks about chugging an Old English 800 and then doing mescaline and cough syrup. There's a lot of drugs on this record.
I think that's what's so good about it. And I love the album art with him just like this and his afros all twisted up. Because he was in the movie Car Wash with Richard Pryor and George Carlin.
Mm-hmm.
He plays the Fly, and that's one of the coolest things ever, man. Like, that's how we were kind of introduced to him.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a couple other things too, but he wasn't a huge star. I thought that bit was funny, and he introduces Trey right beforehand.
Oh,
I thought the one love about Barry White was absolutely brilliant. Why don't you beg like Barry White? Because I don't look like Barry White. Oh, it was so good. Big Heads was one of my favorites. I thought that was super hilarious. The whole idea of smoking and your kid has a big head. That's how they question you. I just think he was so outlandish for this time era. There were so many people that were like, their jokes had to make so much sense. But Franklin and Jazz jokes almost didn't make sense. He was almost ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, this is the type of stuff that people in the 90s were talking about. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
You expect this weird type of material from somebody in the 90s, Mitch Hedberg or something. You don't expect this from a black comedian in LA in 1976. Right. And I think that's what makes this so brilliant. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's so good. There's even like, what is the because this is like, it's not directly autobiographical in terms of it's not that is to say it's not chronological, but it is heavily autobiographical, seemingly. Like, at least it's an exaggerated version of parts of his life. He goes from college and moves along, and even the dumb little joke about what's a protozoa, it's a professional to zoa. That joke, I think, works because he doesn't shut up. He doesn't stop doing the bit. He keeps talking about the bit over and over and over. And somehow I'm like, he charms me by the end of it. I'm won over by the end.
I feel like that's an important part of stand-up comedy. Like, a lot of younger comics, like, I started doing comedy when I was 18. So I've been doing it for a long time now. 34. So, I remember when I first started, you were trying to find your voice and you would rush through your bits, right? So you would do a bit, and they're like, yeah, 5 minutes. And you'll be like, yeah, I'm going to go up there and I'm going to kill this 5 minutes, man, because, I done watched so many comedy specials that I'm a genius, man. That's what's sticking in your head. And you get up there and you do your 5-minute bit that you had, and you rush it in 2. And then the next 3 minutes is, so how's everyone doing tonight? How's everyone doing tonight, right? Because how many bits do you end up giving up on that you're like, oh, man, I'm going to go ahead and give up on this bit. I'm not going to follow through because I'm just going to ask people, hey, man, how you doing, man? How's your night going? Yeah? Yeah, cool, man. Yeah, that's cool. You? Oh, yeah, man. How's some nachos? Yeah. So you have to learn how to never give up on your routine, right? And I think that's what's so cool about this album is there's a few jokes where he keeps going. He's like, no, this is not your time. This is not your stage. This is my time. This is my stage. And you're going to listen to this bit and you're going to laugh at it because I think it's the funniest thing in the world. And I'm going to make you think it's funny. And that confidence is unmatched. This is literally a classic album that people have no idea exists.
And the thing, and I say this a lot on the show, but like I'm kind of annoyed I've not seen him perform live. I'd like very much to see how he performs this material because sure, you listen to him, obviously he's charming, but I mean, especially if you look at this record cover, you're like, oh, he's a really handsome dude, and I'm surprised he didn't have more of an acting career that we know of. Obviously, he's acted a ton, and he's in a lot of really great stuff, but like he's this guy who he's got a star quality, and I'm like, shit, I would love to see him perform this.
And who walks up in an airport but Sammy Davis Jr.?
She discovered Matt Groening.
Without your mom, we might not have had The Simpsons.
Yeah, and I have an Elton John story.
You know who noticed that also was Jonathan Winters.
Your dad was the first band I dropped acid to.
There was Buddy Hackett, and Joey Bishop, and Jerry Vale, and Corbett Monica. And those are the ones that stick out in my mind.
So, of course, I watched Mork and Mindy. He comes over, Mork's here, oh my God. And he was hysterical.
You're listening to Rarefied Air.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, there's some really cool clips of him that are probably still up. He posted some himself on his channel. He has some bits that I love. There was a bit he had where he talked about he was walking behind a white couple, and they say black cats have bad luck, so I robbed them. It's like, what? Like, what? Yo.
My God.
Yeah, he is so good. He had another bit where he talked about buying a house during the end of the world is the best time to buy a home because you can get them dirt cheap. And he goes through this whole thing and he goes, hey man, you're selling your house and it's the end of the world. How much you want for it? They're like $50,000. He's like, $50,000 is kind of steep for the end of the world. Like the dude he's so good, man. He's a genius, and he has the charm. Like if you watch him, he has the charm, he has the swag to him, and he has the smile. So he's a very likable guy, and you can hear the likability in his voice too. I think that's what makes this album even better.
Yeah. And again, all it makes me think of is, man, if you can laugh at your own jokes, and still keep me on board, that's not nothing. There's some more. Although he also will commit to a bit like. I had to write it down just because I've never heard. Again, lots of drugs, but him getting high for the first time, and he says that he was crying and thanking someone for putting mustard on his hamburger, and that is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life.
Yo, it is so ridiculous, man. It's like 1976, there's a comic like this that existed, a comic that this is what the 80s and 90s, late 80s and into the 90s was. It was Franklin and I. And it's like, yo, if he would have just been there during like 85, who knows where he could have been. And there are guys who are ahead of their time, and Franklin Ajaye and this album is proof to me that that is such a thing. I mean, we say that about Richard Pryor, but Richard Pryor was in the right time, right place, and it translated for generations on generations. Like, his routines will never get old. Yeah. I mean, there's a new movie with Jim Brown in it, and it's so hard every time the guy talks because it reminded me of every single bit Richard Pryor did about Jim Brown. It sounded exactly like Jim Brown. I'm like, yo, Richard Pryor knew his friends to a T. So, yeah, it's really cool, man. Jai did a lot of drug references. He did. I like the James Brown bit where he made fun of James Brown. And it was so on point. And he committed to it. He did not stop until he got to the punchline and got the reaction he wanted.
Yeah, because that's where the whole title of the album comes from in the first.
Right. Yeah. Don't smoke dope right here. It's great, man. I think the 70s had the best time era for comedy.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Here's what I'll ask you. After listening to this record, then did you pick up more of his records, or was it just like, I'm just gonna lock this away as another comic I really love, and I'll revisit this one? Or did you pick up more of his stuff?
I read his book. Someone gave me his book as a gift, and I was so excited because I had knew who he was from my dad, and so I was like, oh man, this is Franklin Ajaye's book. Like, I have to listen, or I mean, I have to read this. You know, I started doing more research, looking him up online because he was such a low key guy. Like I said, he moved to Australia, so it's not like he's just walking around in comedy clubs in New York, or you could just run into him just anywhere. But yeah, I definitely started checking out more and more of his stuff. He was, I want to say that there was a comedy festival that he was going to possibly come to that I was at, him and Robert Townsend, and I really wanted to meet them because growing up, like, my dad would let me watch a lot of Robert Townsend stuff, and Franklin Ajaye, ironically, was in Hollywood Shuffle. So, but it didn't happen. Like, they weren't able to come or something happened. Yeah, but yeah, man, I definitely checked out some of his stuff more so on YouTube. Like, we're lucky, man. We're in a time era where everything is a time capsule, and you could just go right on YouTube and you find it. There's now clips of Eddie Murphy performing in comedy clubs and live that never existed. No one ever saw, but now people are putting those VHSs on to YouTube, and it's so cool to be able to see. Like, oh man, that's Eddie Murphy at the Comedy Store, or oh, that's Eddie Murphy, in the cellar. Franklin Ajaye performing here, or Franklin Ajaye on a midnight special. Yeah, so I checked out more stuff, and I was hooked, man. I think honestly, he was like Dave Chappelle before Chappelle, or I mean, we can't, and even before Murphy, he was Eddie Murphy. Like, he's one of those guys that, again, just timing, man. Timing makes sense. And maybe there's some things that he saw in the business that he just didn't want to get involved in. And that might be why he kind of faded away and left. I've always wondered that, but I don't have a way of reaching him.
He is one of those guys who remains difficult to get a hold of, and I won't say that I haven't tried or that I won't continue to try. But yeah, it's always fun whenever he pops up in anything, because he is the same as he has all this energy on stage that you can just hear. You could just hear, which is impressive. Whenever he pops up on a sitcom or in a movie like Bridesmaids or whatever, he also commands your attention, and he's usually not playing.
Bridesmaids.
Yeah, no big energy, but he's like, he still has he commands that you watch, and there's something about him, and I don't. Again, it's that magical it factor, whatever the fuck it is, but it's powerful.
Yeah, I think that some people do have the it factor. There's been plenty of people that I've watched live, and I go, okay, this person is either going to be a big star or has the potential. Sometimes what happens is, there's a lot of self-sabotaging and different things in this business that happens to a lot of people. Ego comes into play, and that helps self-sabotage. So it's interesting to try and know his story, but like you said, he's commanding. Like, he's so likable, he's so smooth. The way he talks is just like, it's jazz, man. It's like a clarinet is playing every time he speaks. Or, you hear that piano, that Thelonious Monk, you're just like, man, John Coltrane with the words, it's just amazing. You know what I mean? Like, it flows, man. It flows like no other. The only other people that flow like that is Cosby, which we don't really like right now, and Richard Pryor. You know what I mean? But and even the thing is, like, Richard Pryor loved Cosby, right? Cosby was Richard Pryor's hero. The point where he even emulated the sound and the cadence. It's just a dirtier version of Bill Cosby. It's the same jazz. So when you think of Cosby, the people and the children come down to play, and I saw what the people did, and I said, do you know what the children? The children said to me, going to pow. And then Richard Pryor, y'all ever see those children walking down the street, right? I saw that motherfucker. Shit. God damn.
Okay, now you're making me think I need somebody. Here's the thing. I love the idea of reclaiming Cosby bits. I'd like somebody to do a filthy Richard Pryor version of an entire Cosby album where it was just the filthiest fucking, but still just all that energy. That's very, also, I haven't said anything, but that's a very solid Richard Pryor. It's a very good Richard Pryor. You've clearly been working on for a long time, so well done. I mean, it is very good. Very good.
Thank you. I appreciate it. That's my favorite, man. That's my hero. Yeah, it's different, and it's funny to see the difference in, like, how much these comedians have influenced a specific vibration. Not everybody has. Even Eddie Murphy was emulating it and going into it. Eddie Murphy took it to a whole nother level. It was almost like a rock star quality. It was like Franklin Ajaye, but like more of a rock star. How Eddie talks. Wait, the people was looking at me and I said, this is great. but it's just like, he always had like the cadence where he could just take it any notch at any time. And then like Chappelle's the same way. So it's pretty cool to see, Dave Chappelle on through. But yeah, that's what we're different time era, man. Different time.
Have you ever, because, as I'm not a stand-up, but I write comedy and I perform. Sometimes I actively, like, some of the shit I do demands I do an impression. However, but stylistically, it's very easy, especially early on. A lot of comics have been like, oh yeah, no, I stole their whole act, blah, blah, blah. Have you ever caught yourself accidentally doing a little Franklin Ajaye, or like something you can spot within your own act that has been accidentally or just homage-wise lifted from his work? Because it happens all the time.
It does happen a lot to people. I think when I very, very, very first started, when I was a teenager, it was like, oh man, I'm going to try and rewrite a Richard Pryor bit, and that I'm perfectly fine with admitting that. You would try and rewrite it to your own. It's like, don't do it word for word, but let's try and make it like cool, like Rich, like Eddie Murphy said, he did the same thing, not a whole bit where he's Richard Pryor. I think a lot of us have done that. I've always wanted to, like, I think energy-wise, a lot of people have said Eddie Murphy for me, and there's like a few people like that, but that's just like energy-wise. more so like how I perform, I guess. It's changed a lot now in my older days. Like now it's more jazzy and chill. So I think what I've done is, as far as the influence, I just listened to a lot of jazz music, and I learned how to find that sound that they had and blend it with like hip hop in a way.
Yeah.
Where like it's still jazzy, because well, you're a writer, you're a performer, you know this. There's what's called, I feel like I'm giving a secret away, but there's what's called the 9 levels of stage. And this is something that someone taught me a long time ago. And it's 9 levels. So if this is a stage, you have your back left, back middle, back right, and then middle right, middle left, and then so forth. You go in the front. The further you are in the back, the more the audience is with you as far as relaxing. And I started learning how to set up bits in a jazzy way and come into any of the other directions for punchlines, and setting up a bit and then going this way so that they're relaxed and they can see everything. A lot of times when you're up close, the audience is like, because they're like, oh man, what's he going to say? What's he going to say? You know, now they're tense. But if you're chilling back and you see how like Franklin and Ajaye and Rick Pryor, how smooth they were. You know, Bill Cosby, I mean, I know people don't like, but he's so influential in comedy. It's like hard not to talk about him. But and George Carlin, man, Carlin was jazz, but George Carlin was I consider him like big band jazz. You know what I mean? It was the jazz that came in, and you know how he had his words. It was bop, 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 bop. So. Yeah. I think I learned more so, like, I thought it was important to learn the jazz of comedy, how important it is. The greatest comedians of all time are all jazz comedians, including Dave Chappelle. So I really wanted to learn how to flow on that and create those punchlines. But early on, definitely wanted to be rich, man.
Sure. I couldn't think of a good parallel of a Carlin bit to be like, here's where he stole jazz from, just the way every other white person has. To be fair, yeah, you know, it's a very, it's a good. I don't think of Carlin in those terms, but I'm going to now, because he's one of my favorites in terms of. I don't know, word choice, language, but also, I don't know. I guess the way he tells a story in a weird, and it flows, and you sometimes see him physically do things like this with his body. He's very physical comic. Yeah. Now I'm gonna have to look at him in terms of very white jazz. Now I like that. Okay, that's good. I like that a lot. Do you?
He's Kenny G.
Oh no! Now I've just equated George Carlin with Kenny G. Oh shit! Oh boy! You know what? It's not wrong. So if you picked an album that nobody's picked on this show before, you picked an album I hadn't heard before. So pitch to the audience. You've already done it by talking about how much you love it and talking about specific bits, but give us a couple sentences as to why they should listen to this album, especially if they don't know anything about Franklin Ajaye.
I think a very innovative album. It is an innovative comic who just didn't get his due. But if you talk to other comics about him, comics know who Franklin Ajaye is, and they have this like high respect for him, almost like he's almost like the dude in Rucker Park that could have been Jordan but wasn't Jordan. You know what I mean? Like, he's the GOAT that was never the GOAT. And I think that's why people should listen to it, because then they can hear how much he actually influenced other comedians that don't mention his name. And I think that's a big deal, man. Like, look at Patrice O'Neal. That's another jazzy guy, man. Patrice O'Neal, the way he flowed, and he was so smooth with his words, man. And he hit you with a punchline, and you'd be like, oh, man, you just jabbed me in the face. He's one of those guys. So Franklin Ajaye definitely influenced a lot of people. I say, if you're a listener, listen to it because it's such an innovative album. Like I said, it was innovative before it came out. It was something that existed before it existed. Death was this punk rock band. I want to say they were Detroit, and they had this big documentary out about them. And they were talking about how they pretty much invented punk rock, and nobody knew about these albums. And the Ramones and stuff heard it before they became like the Ramones.
Wow.
And people were saying how they were secretly an influence. I feel like Franklin Ajaye is death of comedy. I think that some point in time, like I said, when he dies, everybody's going to go back and look at his work. The same way they did Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was still in the forefront of black culture and civil rights and comedy. But I feel like Flip Wilson, those guys were forefront. Franklin's going to be a guy everybody goes, oh man, he was a legend. The same way they do Patrice O'Neal. Like, it took Patrice O'Neal to die to become one of the greatest comedians to ever live. So it's unfortunate, but I think that's why people should listen to it now. And I know that was definitely more than a couple cents.
It's perfectly fine. It is a good argument for the record. I think it's a worthy argument. It's good to. I mean, that's the point of this podcast anyway. Is it's not always just to talk about the same record 10 times, which is fine. No shade on people who've picked a record that I've talked about 10 times. They don't know.
Yeah.
But I do like to talk about new stuff and expose people to new stuff. So that's perfect. Okay. First of all, thank you very much for doing the show.
Yeah.
This has been a lot of fun.
Of course.
And why don't you tell people where they can find you, find your work online or otherwise?
You can follow me on Instagram, TJonesPOC. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can look up TJonesPOC. It'll come up faster. It'll say Terry Jones, Team Terry Productions, where I have my new vlog. We have our show Light Up and Laugh, where we smoke cigars with different celebrities. We interview them. We shoot shit, crack jokes, have a great time. Billy Gardell has been on there, Craig Shoemaker, Khalil Kane. So definitely check that out. Re-releasing it because of what happened with the pandemic. It kind of went under the radar. So you guys can check that out. The first episode is now up now, relaunched on my channel. So you can check out my comedy album, Limbo Negro, Comedy Ghoul, Limbo Negro 2 Redemption, and Afro Bebop, all on every streaming service, including Spotify, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Pandora Radio, add Terry Jones Radio to Pandora. What else is there? I think that's it. Oh yeah, and I also have music. If you're into hip hop, check out my music also on the streaming platform. So if you go to look for my comedy albums, you'll find new music as well, and more music is being released, too. So definitely. Have
any of your records been released on vinyl yet? Is that a thing or no?
No, but listen. I want to release these albums on vinyl just for my dad. Like, literally, I want to get vinyl copies of my albums just for my dad because he introduced me to comedy. And but no, they have not been released on vinyl yet. I want to, but that is like, they're so expensive to make.
Oh yeah.
And with global pandemic, I would have to work a couple corners to get all 4 albums set up. So I'm not trying to be a gigolo for vinyl albums. But eventually that will be a thing, man. I want to make that happen, man.
I get it, believe me. Obviously, since starting this show and talking and telling your audience, hey, I make comedy albums. Hey, I love vinyl comedy albums. And within 10 years, not having a vinyl comedy album to show anybody is kind of like, sorry. Like, nobody's asking for it, but I obviously definitely fucking want it, so I get it. I get it, yeah, and yeah, it's fucking expensive. And the people I know who are the few producers of comedy records, it's not a moneymaker. So that's why it's even harder to get somebody else to sign on to make your record a vinyl. It's a losing proposition, but I will have my fingers crossed because, you know, please, if that happens, I want one desperately. I like new vinyl.
Listen, when that happens, I'll send you all 4 on vinyl. All 4 albums are different, so I'll definitely make sure I do Limbo Negro, Limbo Negro 2, Bebop, Comedy Gold. They're all really good ones. If you get a chance, man, check them out. What you think? But I think the first Limbo Negro was a hard time because I got bumped the night I was recording by Lovitz. But because I got bumped by Lovitz, I was unable to make the money that I was supposed to make that night.
God.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to record an album?
Oh,
well.
Different recordings.
Oh, shit.
Dude, that is spot on, man. Hey, yo, it hurt, man, because that's like been one of my heroes since I was a kid. Like, I love it. And to get bumped on your first album recording night, I had to switch out to a 10 p.m. So it's 2 different shows recorded into one album, so it sounds different. Mm-hmm. But Comedy Ghoul, Afro Bebop, Comedy Ghoul was recorded in America. Afro Bebop and Limbo Negro 2 were recorded in Canada because I felt like there was a lot of shit I couldn't say in America without interruption. So it's really good. So you're on vinyls, man. You and like 4 other people and my dad.
All you need to get those 4 released on vinyl is, you know, $10,000 cash or more, and you're good to go. You know, it's easy to come upon just 10 grand. That's all you fucking need, and you get a whole 400 records in your pocket. Yeah, I get it. It's a ridiculous proposition. I really want to thank you again for doing the show very much.
No, thanks for having me, man. It was an honor. I'm so excited to be a part of this, and this is a very, very amazing podcast, and I want to give you your flowers while you're alive. I don't want something to happen to you, and people be like, "Oh man, he had one of the greatest podcasts all time. Oh man, he was great." You know, all that bullshit that people do when someone dies, and all of a sudden they're your biggest fan. But I literally want to give you your flowers while you're alive. This podcast is so important to comedy history. Doesn't matter who, where, when. This is a very important podcast to comedy history and to any comedic historian. This is so thank you for creating this, and thank you for letting me be a part of comedy history.
Well, that's very kind of you and very nice, and I will take that. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just going to sit here and take it. I'm no John Lovitz. I'm not going to step on your shit. So, listen, thank you very much. It's very kind of you. And thank you guys for listening. And as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn.